But let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump right into the game of the weekend for Sooner fans, and that was OU Texas Tech. Last week, Brendan Williams joined us. We went on a rant to the fans about coming in, getting loud, and because this was 10th-ranked Texas Tech against 15th-ranked Oklahoma. If Oregon had not played UCLA, it would have been game day. This is arguably the second best, and honestly, turned out to be probably one of the best games of the weekend, save maybe Missouri, South Carolina. But my point is still this. I know we are not a huge network and we're not reaching lots of people, but there is a culture problem, especially with student football fans currently here at the University of Oklahoma. Jonathan Freeman, thoughts on the student section?
My thoughts. All right.
10 minutes before kickoff. Let's prime this. 10 minutes before kickoff. Yes, there's a rain delay.
First of all, yes.
There is a rain delay.
I'm excited about this game, okay?
Everybody is.
It's nasty. It's a muggy day. It's rainy. We're getting ready, and
the storm's been brewing all week. Trash talk, all this
stuff.
And
we know that our teams are ready.
Yes.
They've been talking about this for weeks. We're getting ready to
they're
go.
They're stewing in the locker room. They're having rap contests,
it's
dance
fantastic,
contests.
But guess
they're ready.
who is not? The fans. You yourself, Drew Farley, said that you saw people on Facebook selling their tickets because it was raining.
Yep.
And
right before, they're giving them away. They're giving their tickets away.
And here's the result. Now, first of all, I can understand giving away or selling your tickets if you're not going to go. But the day of, because it's raining, what does that make you? A literal fair weather fan. And nobody's going to actually, okay, if you're trying to hey, can somebody take my tickets? No one's going to take your tickets 5 minutes before the game when it's raining.
Everybody out there in front of the game is going to the game.
You bought your ticket and now you bought an empty seat. And here's the result, okay? I wrote down this rant because I'm sorry. I am Jay Freezy. I'm a generally chill character, all right? But this kind of grinded my gears because I go to this school and this was the biggest game of the year. And it is kind of known that our fans are just kind of deteriorating,
And here's something I want to make a difference in between. When we say fans, when we talk about fans, 95% of any aggression is towards the student fans.
Thank you.
Because the alumni, the older fans, the youthful fans, the families with their kids, the guys who have had season tickets for 20 years, they fill the stands, and they create all of the noise. These are people who are
an hour in advance. Go ahead.
These are the middle-aged, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, even the 60s to 70-year-old people who have gone to OU, who have been lifelong Sooner fans, who understand how big football is here in Oklahoma. And then it's the students nowadays. It's the student section who does not show up. And if they show up, they're lukewarm at best and then complain all week long, talk about being a fan, and they're not. And they're just not. And I think Jonathan Freeman is going to elaborate. I just want to make the distinction because we say fans, but it's really mostly the student fans.
No, yeah. I mean, the alum, my granddad who went to, OU is out there in his poncho with his OU hat and stuff, singing Boomer Sooner on the bus.
They can't walk up steps, but they can make their way to this OU game.
Exactly.
Shout.
All right, and bring their whole family and stay the whole time. All right, here we go. So I get there. I was there because of the rain delay about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the game.
The actual kickoff.
Right. Student section was literally about half full at kickoff. Half full at kickoff. It reached its peak at about 2/3 full halfway through the game and cleared out again after that because, after halftime, well, why should you stay? Because
we saw who homecoming king and queen are, and we talked about this last week, and we said don't do it, and you did it. I know you're not listening. You're not listening. You're not paying attention. You're missing the point. If you're leaving at halftime, you miss the point.
And here's
this game was not over at halftime.
Right.
This was 14-7 at halftime against 10 Texas Tech. And sure, you had the momentum, but this was anybody's game.
400 passing yards on us?
Exactly. And this game went on to be a spectacular game that was back and forth the whole way through. So this was not over at halftime. So if you left at halftime, shame on you. Don't ever come back to the Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. You don't deserve it.
Hear, hear. So because of this, when Tech was scoring touchdowns right in front of the student section, it was literally louder at the Texas Tech end zone than by our student section.
Yep.
We may as well not even have one.
They're driving down the field. We need a goal line stand, the Sooners do. They're at the 1-yard line, and they're right next to an empty section 27, where there should be at least 300 to 400 students, but you know what? It's wet, and we already know who won homecoming king. So we're Oklahoma fans. We're mad that they scored because we're watching on the TV at the bars, but you know what? Why aren't you there?
That's true.
Now, I'm not saying that was going to stop them from sneaking it around the outside and letting them score, but you know what? That's the point of being a fan. Don't call yourself a fan if you're not in the student section on Saturdays after
third
halftime.
down, yelling your
on
head
third
off
down,
at
yeah,
goal
exactly.
line. That's the thing, is because, I mean, there were people down there. I mean, yeah, it's half full, but there's still students right there, and it wasn't loud at all.
No.
And touchdown.
In
Boom.
fact, we heard more cheers from the Texas Tech fans on the opposite end of the field who were cheering for the offense, be like, yeah, go offense, you're going to score, which are, that you're not supposed to technically do that, but
right. I mean,
to create lots of noise. But, does that not gel with you correctly? Because it doesn't gel with me. It doesn't make sense.
Now, here's an interesting parallel of something that's happened recently. So, I don't know if anybody of you heard about the Nick Saban thing.
Love this. Let's dive
where
in.
Nick Saban basically punished groups of students from the student
The
section.
university did.
Yeah.
He called them out.
He called them out and was like, okay, you guys, all I'm asking is for you to show up to the game, have a good time, and stay until the end. If you can't do that, you don't deserve your ticket, and you're not going to be allowed to have those block student section tickets.
Yeah, and that's the biggest difference is I'm pretty sure besides the super fan section and the band section, which are, the super fans are not our problem that we're talking about.
Right.
They're the 15 guys who are always loud. You know what I mean? The band is always loud. That's their job. We don't have block seating for, Tri-Deltas or whatever, or the Asian Student American or what, the groups or whatever. But the fact that Nick Saban, and this speaks to Nick Saban as a person, the culture of Tuscaloosa and the culture of Alabama in general, that the head ball coach there, who's the highest paid coach in the history of college football, can say to the fans, I work 7 to 11, you need to stay the whole game, and then not asking the athletic department to do this, strips student organizations of block seating for the cited purpose, poor attendance records. Wow. Nick Saban has moved on from coaching the football team. He's moved on to coaching the fan base.
Basically.
So let's compare the two.
Let's just start taking roll, It's
Yeah.
just, all right, so here's the thing. I understand football isn't the most important thing, even in Oklahoma, because I was seeing people, raging on that thing about, oh my gosh, it's easy for you to say, Nick Saban, you're making how many figures and stuff, and people getting scholarships paid, to come here and stuff. Okay, yeah, football is not the most important thing. Yeah, it's here for entertainment, whatever. That's fine. And it would be, tyrannical of Nick Saban or Bob Stoops in this case to, say, hey, you can't go to the game. You don't have the right anymore because I say so. Okay, I see that.
Well, and here's one thing that I'll make a point of. If you are an Oklahoma fan and you are demanding of your team to be that number 1 or 2 team every year, to be a national title contender every year, there's one of the 100 points that make you different than what Alabama is right now, the fandom.
Right.
And the fact that he is allowed to call it the fandom, and the fandom will immediately respond.
As Nick Saban said, he considers the fan base a part of the team.
It is.
And if you don't show up and you don't contribute, then that's a problem.
All of the people who continue to complain about Oklahoma football recruiting, guess what? Those recruits, there are 5-star recruits here every 3 or 4 games. There are multiple guys here. They come here, they go to Alabama, they go to Oregon, and guess what they're looking at besides the football game itself? That is an atmosphere that they're looking at.
Right.
Where do I want to play? Do I want to play
definitely.
in front of 100,000 committed screaming fans at Alabama or 60,000 alumni at Oklahoma?
Right.
In a lukewarm fan section who does nothing
definitely.
but trash talk you behind your back. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yep.
Where are you gonna go to school? Where are you gonna play football if you're the best in the country?
Exactly. And I'll get to more of that, but
Okay.
that is a huge point. So, here's the thing. All this has happened, and yeah, it's tyrannical, whatever. Football isn't the biggest thing in the world. But the big screen said that we had another sellout crowd at, 84,000
84
something, whatever.
something, yeah.
And we had a pathetic showing. I mean, okay.
We had a sellout. All the tickets
a
were
sellout.
sold.
Yeah, they were sold, but nobody... Well, I mean,
No, it wasn't even,
Yeah.
no. There were empty seats everywhere.
And my beef is, if you have tickets, you go in and you stay and you be a real football fan. If you have the tickets, you bought the tickets, you made that commitment. If you don't want to or you can't because you have other things to do, then give your ticket to someone who will. The biggest waste is to buy an empty seat when real Oklahoma fans all over the world, because I went to Hawaii about a year ago, there were Oklahoma fans there.
Yeah.
You know, I was wearing my
Yeah.
Oklahoma hat, and people were like, Boomer Sooner, you know?
Yeah.
They're all over the world. They would have loved to have that ticket. They would have loved to be at that game yelling their head off. And there's no valid excuse or argument for buying a ticket and then not using it or leaving for no good reason during the biggest home game of the year.
And this sounds like a strategy. I mean, if I am T. Boone Pickens, okay, I have billions of dollars to spend, and I know that let's say Oklahoma. Let's just say let me make another example. If I am a big time LSU booster, I'm a billionaire. One way that I can sabotage the home field advantage, I'm going to buy tickets and not go. I'm going to buy 1,000 tickets.
Yep.
I'm going to buy 10,000 tickets. That's essentially what happened, except it was Oklahoma fans sabotaging the Oklahoma fans at the game. When
Basically.
10,000 fans buy 10,000 tickets and don't go or don't sell those or don't give them to people who will go to the game, you've bought an empty seat. You've sabotaged that home field advantage, and then you're going to watch from your couch and complain.
Right, exactly. And here's the other thing, complaining. The attitude of the fan base, okay, the student fan base, but kind of the fan base in general, because here's
Yeah.
what I see online when I come home from something like this, okay? By the way, the whole week leading up to this game, there's the hashtag Create a Ruckus.
Create a Ruckus.
All this stuff. Everyone is getting pumped up. They're posting videos of the 2008 Tech game.
Yep.
Everyone's like, this is the game. You guys need to show up. You guys need to go crazy. This is the game for the fans to show up, okay? And I'm seeing comments and posts on these things that are just like, well, maybe the team should play better, and then or, well, this just isn't the Oklahoma team that I used to know. Okay.
Timeout. Tell him, John.
Okay. So here's the Oklahoma team you used to know, all right? Sam Bradford, who everyone's calling to come back. Okay, one of his greatest seasons was 2008.
Yep.
Okay, what was our record in 2008? It was still like, what, 10-2?
Yeah.
Something
Yep.
like that?
Yep. 2 loss.
We're already on our way to becoming a 10-2 team with a team in August who people had no idea what our defensive identity would be.
They thought we were going to give up 40 points a game in August.
We don't know who our quarterback's going to be. We're full of freshmen. We have no. Okay, we just got destroyed by Texas A&M in the Cotton Bowl. People were okay. With looking at the matchups that we had in the Big 12, we could have been a 6-6 team.
Yeah.
We could have lost. Okay, we could have lost to Notre Dame. We could have lost to TCU. We could have lost to. We lost to Texas, but we could have lost. I mean, they're super talented.
Yeah.
Okay, we could have lost to Texas Tech. Could have lost to Baylor. Could have lost to Oklahoma State. Like.
Yeah.
Easily.
And right now you're sitting at 7-1, and
7-1.
And there is a quiet, and we'll talk about this later. There is a quiet, about 10% of experts out there right now who are whispering to each other, Oklahoma is
We're a top 15 team.
Is going to beat Baylor.
Top 15 team.
There's
okay?
people who believe that right now.
Yeah, we're a top 15 team. Okay, Baylor is what in the top 10? Yeah, because we're
10
dominating.
and 6.
But we are 7-1. We are in the top 3 of the Big 12 right now.
Yep.
People thought we'd be a 6. We could have been 6-6. Okay, and I just okay.
Blake Bell broke the first start career.
We're breaking records. Blake Bell broke the starting record. Bob Stoops is about to break Switzer's record. Michael Honeycutt
breaks the all-time kicking record.
record.
This isn't the Oklahoma I used to know.
This isn't the Oklahoma I used to know.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, basically. When's the last time you saw a defense like this? You know,
It's been a while, man. Even that year. I mean, I know that one game in particular, that Texas Tech game, wasn't a great example. And here's the thing about this defense that I don't think you could compare is, and I'll talk about this later when I go into the exact breakdown. But if you're complaining this isn't what it used to be, I want you to look at this defense and tell me why you can expect 2 true freshmen at middle linebacker, a freshman at defensive tackle, and a freshman at corner. That's half your defense, especially right up the middle. Is supposed to be as dominant as Travis Lewis, Gerald McCoy, and those.
Right.
And you know what? They got a chance to in 3 or 4 years.
right. And how can you be disappointed with the coaching staff here? Because okay, look at us. We are top 15 team right now. With all this, we lost Miller, we lost Nelson, we lost
Jordan
lost
Phillips.
I mean, it's kind of a mess, but we are putting it together. We are still 7-1, and meanwhile, you have Texas, Nebraska, the former giants of old that were rivals that were battling for the top 5 spots in the country, are unranked. Their coaches are on the hot seats. I mean, look at us.
Everything's
look at them.
changing.
And how can you complain?
Oklahoma
considering
has
what we
not
have
fallen
right now?
off. Oh, I mean, when you look at this, like you said, Texas has fallen off. Yes, they're trying to put it back together. But if you think about the past 3-4 years, Nebraska continues to fall off. Bo Pelini is the hot seat. Oklahoma State, even this year, is like falling back down the stairs. The team that's the biggest threat is Baylor. Things are different nowadays. Yeah, Alabama's still around. I mean, LSU is ranked below Oklahoma at this point. Your top 3 teams are Alabama, Oregon, and Florida State. This is not 2008. This is 2013, and Oklahoma's still a good football team.
Yep.
And sure as heck good enough for you to come out and at least make a little bit of noise.
Right. We're not preseason number 1. This isn't number 5 versus 2, Texas Tech or something?
Yep.
But, okay, number 15 versus number 10. You're not going to show up and stay the whole game with the tickets that you bought. Shame on you. You know football isn't always in an air-conditioned, heated, covered stadium. You should know this if you're coming to Oklahoma. The end. I mean, I don't even know what to say to people.
Do you feel better? Did you get it all out?
I don't really know if I feel better, but that's the state of things.
And it's so weird because, like I was saying before, it's the students, not the fans. But it spells disaster for the future of the Sooner fan base because you look at the fans who are showing up right now and being loud, and you get that alumni base. Okay, what happens when the Sooners who show up to that show, half of them show up and half of them don't, are at that point where they're the alumni?
Right. Oh man. Oh.
You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like
future.
There's no depth to the fan base. And yes, like we talk about the A&M, the 12th man. You are.
Yeah.
You are the 12th. It's just
and
we
the
talked
point
about this
earlier about
with the recruits
showing up. Okay, how many recruits have we lost in the past year and a half to Texas A&M? Oh my Lord.
Yep.
In Texas A&M, home of the 12th man,
guess
win
what?
or lose.
And you know what? Guess what? Those recruits, I'll tell you this right
you know
now.
what,
These are
Jordan?
recruits that are going everywhere. Laquan Treadwell leading the SEC in receiving freshman yards, breaking SEC freshman records, lost them to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The safety, Vernon Hargreaves III, who is on the Bolitnikoff finalist list with Aaron Colvin. There are 15 guys. Aaron Colvin, obviously a senior here, but a freshman, a true freshman for Florida. Chose Florida over Oklahoma. These are guys who are coming here, who are saying, Oklahoma is in my top 3. The recruiting by the coaches, they are getting their job done, getting them to come tour, getting them to come experience the fan base, getting them, and then winning football games at home. But you know who's not doing their job?
You gotta give them something to see
the
when they
people
come.
the atmosphere, period.
You got to give them something to
Period.
stay here for.
Yep.
I mean,
And it comes down to that because they're better fan bases, period. I mean, and this year, right now, the recruiting looks pretty good for Oklahoma, but there's a lot of guys. People say, like, hey, if we just get a couple, if we get this guy, if we get that guy,
exactly.
we're just this close. Joe Mixon, Adoree Jackson, 2 5-star guys from California, both visited TCU weekend. Now, it was a better turnout because the weather was a little better and the crowd was pretty good, but I guarantee you, as soon as they go to even USC, as soon as they go to Oregon, they're going to look at Oregon fans who, guess what? They showed up and there was quadruple the amount of fans at game day at 5 in.the morning as there was at Norman, Oklahoma, an hour, 3 hours before kickoff at game day. That's the difference.
I was watching some of the Clemson
Absolutely.
Florida State game.
Absolutely.
That
beginning of that game, there you go.
Okay. I mean,
Bar is set.
First play, turnover, which capitalizes to a touchdown. Like, Florida State comes out guns a-blazing, destroying Clemson. And guess what I hear, like, 5 minutes into the first quarter as they're getting destroyed? Jump around. Jump around.
Yep.
Like, which we would not dare play until, like, we were
game's
sure
over.
the game was
Yep.
over. And, like,
Which even then, we talk about this jump around. In 2008, they played it before. There was, like, things measured on the Richter scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it should be, right? That's what it should be. Well, they don't play it till the end of the game. And you and I, we're up top with a camera. We're looking. 50% of the fans who even stayed aren't jumping around.
Right.
Especially the students. Come on.
I was jumping around, man.
Yeah.
Like, call me unprofessional, but that game was getting me excited, And I wished I was down there in the student section, jumping around, yelling my face off.
And the only thing I can say is it is contagious, okay? And if there is 3 people scattered in a section of 100, those 3 people can start enough to get those 100 loud. And that's all you need. You need those 3 people. But the fact that half of them are absent, you know what I mean? And that means that there is not anyone. So if you're the one person listening to this right now who might be a student and I don't even know you, but you can hear me and you're talking, Iowa State is not the most glorious matchup ever. Iowa State is a game you need to win at home. You need to continue to be somewhat dominant at home. Again, this is another point for all the people on this team because there's a good chance when it comes to Iowa State you have another loss. There's a good chance that a lot of Oklahoma fans will be quitting on Oklahoma by that time if they have this at least another loss. Come out and get loud. There's going to be recruits there. There's going to be it's going to be a team that needs you because they feed off the energy. Okay, and here's another point. The fans they did a solid job when plays were made. Mm-hmm. But here's the difference. If you want to affect a game, Texas Tech's first possession. Okay, it's a 14-yard run, okay? After a good return, they're on fire, okay? But then Eric Stryker on third down after two incomplete passes sacks the quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, yes, the first three plays, the crowd was pretty loud. I will say on a scale of 1 to 10, a 5. They're fairly loud, okay? But then on third down, Eric Stryker's running after the quarterback. Okay? The crowd's about a 5.5. Eric Stryker sacks the quarterback, the play is over, the punting team's coming on the field, the crowd's at an 8. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know when you need to be at an 8? When it's 4th and 2 and they're calling an audible. You don't wait till they're ready and the play starts to get loud.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point, to disrupt what they're trying to do. It's not to get loud after your team does something good. Yeah, I know you're supposed to celebrate while it's happening. But on defense especially, the point, the way you affect a game, the way you can help your team win is to be loud when you see them trying to talk.
False start.
There you go. All right. I think that's a good fan rant. I know you're busy. Jonathan Freeman is always a busy.